I was always strangled in between the elder one and the younger one. And I think that's what made me stronger in communication, because I had to shout out for help. So a client wants to hire a professional whom they can connect to and confide in. One who has clarity of thought, and that cannot happen in a chaotic mind. So here, if you think deeply, the underlying word is trust. You are constantly being judged on how you treat yourself, how you value your time and resources, how well organized and well informed you are. Hi everyone. Heading the design studio, Inspiration the Design Avenue, I am Prarthana Nangia. Born into an affluent family in a then small town Nagpur to two highly aspirational parents. My father, late architect Vijay Nangia, was a product of SPA Delhi, and he was one of the first educated architect designer of the city. On the other hand, my mom went on to complete her education and completed her master's in art and bachelor's in education after bearing 4 children. So being the second one, I was always strangled in between the elder one and the younger one. And I think that's what made me stronger in communication, because I had to shout out for help. Growing up, the creative instinct was always there. I had few professions in list, but interior designer was never a one. So I mockingly call myself an accidental interior designer. Looking at my father sitting at the drafting board for hours, I couldn't connect with that patience. But now, when I look back to the 20 years that I've been into the practice, I think it was a good decision, as it completes my need to be creative on a very large scale. When I started out my practice in the year 2005, I knew my subject well, the design, details, materials. But I still felt something is missing. After deep analysis, I realized what was missing was the presentation. Now, when I say presentation here, it doesn't mean design presentation. It means self-presentation. That's when I realized that first, I need to communicate with myself about my practice and where is the vision that I want to take my practice to. It's like the interviews where they ask you, where do you see yourself in the next coming years? So I started chalking out my pointers for my journey, point by point. When I was clear in my head, it became easier to take charge and cushion all the road bumpers. We study hard and gather all the knowledge that we can. But many of my clients ask me what really matters. So what really matters is the confidence that you build up. How do you remain so calm? They ask me. And I reply that maybe I've learned to take stride of the storms, and I remember that they are going to come. So a client wants to hire a professional whom they can connect to and confide in. One who has clarity of thought, and that cannot happen in a chaotic mind. So here, if you think deeply, the underlying word is trust. Now, you would be wondering how trust comes in between all this. But it does. A person would like to hire you if they can communicate with you and be open about what they are looking out for. Somebody who they can have deep discussions with, even arguments for justifications about the right methodology and what is not working. So in between all this, what matters is your personality and skill. Client here wants to put the trust into your willingness to learn and to deliver to the best of your ability, fulfilling the project to the highest capacity. I was entrusted with a sanitary showroom project, and I was referred to this client. So when we talk about trust, right? So this person, he offered me work due to a referral, and he didn't ask me what was I doing earlier, what projects have I done. And the best part was, in the middle of the project, I don't know why, he just casually asked me that, looking at your experience, I feel that you must have designed, so many sanitary showrooms. And I was like, no, this is my first, right? So trust needs skill. So if you have skill in yourself, I think the trust automatically builds up. So as we discussed above, the personality is what defines you, the way you portray yourself, and your skill is what defines the trust, as I said. If you see, in today's day and age, it has become so easy to put yourself out there the way you want people to perceive you. With the onset of the social media platforms, the reach has become so wider, right? We have so many influencers doing the work, building trust for brands which we don't even know, building trust for technologies that we don't even know, right? So in between all this, you are constantly striving to showcase your capabilities. And all this is conveyed through communication. So what does communication mean to all of you? So I have realized that communication isn't just about talking or conveying your thoughts through words. So here I talk about visual communication and experiential communication. The client needs to see and experience what you are bringing to the table. Client wants to see what value addition happens through you when they put the basic requirements in front of you. You are constantly being judged on how you treat yourself, how you value your time and resources, how well organized and well informed you are. This is a major factor that builds the trust the client is looking out for. For some people, it works out so well that it builds a chain of trust. That's when you start getting referred to more people, as I mentioned earlier about my experience. So believe you me, my friend, once the aura of trust is set, consider half the battle is already won. It's simple. If they are looking for a luxury space, they want to know that if this person they are, kind of entrusting the job with, understands luxury. So guiding any design process is the design vision, which helps you outline the desired outcome and overall user experience. It outlines a bigger picture of what people or communication value. Developing a shared vision is not easy, as different people come from different perspectives, experiences, and desires. In the current day, the world has become an open canvas with different nationalities, castes, religions, family backgrounds, and beliefs. So, designers and architects are working throughout the globe, breaking all barriers. So much design exchange is happening that it's not possible without understanding the human psychology, which is the utmost importance and has always been. I don't know if colleges are teaching that. It is very important to understand each other. So if we have to design something for somebody, so what is important is to know who are you designing for, right? Like we talk about cultural background, we talk about family background. Why are you designing? What is the requirement of that project, right? What is the vision of the client, right? What are you designing? So is it a residence? Is it a commercial? Are you designing spaces for a larger social community? What is it? And where is it to be designed? So you must be some architects as well here, right? So typographical is so important, geometrical is so important, right? So starting with the design process to transform a place of worship with a complex journey of collaboration and negotiation, what would be needed, right? There will be so many people involved in the process of understanding and bringing together skills, creativity, and experience. Because if you're making a temples, for example, right, there will be worshippers putting in their thoughts. There will be, priests, religions, cultural, community. Everybody will come together and everybody will have something to say. To understand this, you just have to follow these 4 simple steps. And I think it's very, very basic. Like, we talk about communication always, but what is communication? So the first part of communication is to observe. So by observing, I mean listening, right? We are talking to people, but are we listening to them? That is what is important. So understanding the requirement of a person who is coming to you. So if you want to communicate better, first, you have to listen to understand. I think then you can definitely give a solution to it, right? So I was doing this project for a Bombay client, and it was one of my first project, and it was an apartment. And I met this lady back home in Nagpur. So she was at a housewarming party of one of my project, and she loved my work, and she said that I would be calling you to Bombay. And she actually did, right? So when I went for the first meeting, she was like, you're not asking us questions, right? She was like, hey, why aren't you asking us questions that what do we need, what do we want? I said, I'm observing, I'm listening. Few things you are telling me, few things I'm just observing and examining. And that is what is, that you need understanding for. Skills come in here, right? What we talked about earlier. So absorb is the next thing. You've done listening, but have you understood, right? So you're listening to somebody, but then you have to absorb it to produce something later, right? The next point comes into express. Herein comes what we want to portray the design format as, right? And then we impress. So for the impression, definitely we can have so many things, presentations, 3Ds, AI is now helping us so much positively and negatively, right? So to be true, there are many few clients who understand drawings, right? People trust you and they go with the flow. And that is why we have like the 3D and AI that are in vogue right now. So even if they are bringing in lots of pictures from the Pinterest, which is, a go-to platform for every one of us, even if they are bringing in loads of images from Pinterest, clients are confused to know what they are actually looking out for, because they find interesting pictures on Pinterest and they load you with it, right? So here we come in as designers to create a bridge between information and understanding. And if you understand the difference between want and need, necessity and accessory, we'll be able to crack the code and bring out the best design option for the said client. Here comes in the role of knowledge and presentation, right? So even before you put out the drawings, we can definitely explain our ideas through vision boards, presentations, methods to make the client clear of the idea of design. Now that we have built the trust and the communication are strong, so you've heard what is needed, right? Understood what has to be delivered. The important thing now is to share experiences, right? So when you're trying to pitch a project, a concept, and the moment you tell the client that it is something that you have experimented before, that you have incorporated into your personal space, I have full faith in it that communication becomes more stronger and deeper because of the faith and trust that you have built for yourself in the eyes and the mind of the client. So after you found the purpose and significance of a project, the next step is to create the right impact. Actions to values, ensuring that one's contributions are meaningful and leave a positive legacy. setting up a goal to bring in positive change in the social built environment, right? So your designs should have impact on the personal lives or on the social lives, right, in some way. So having a legacy that can motivate individuals to make choices that contribute to a better future. So have you seen like a luxury brand store? Like for, let's take an example of Gucci. So once I've entered into a mall and I found this Gucci store and I wanted to enter and they had barrigation there, right? So they said, we are full. So they work on a 1:1 ratio in the showroom and they won't let you in. Now, by doing this, they are not offending you, but they are creating that luxury quotient and communicating to you likewise, right? So here I would like to quote Mr. John Powell, who was a music composer. Communication works for those who work at it, right? And I would like to say communicate well and make it matter. Recently, somebody asked me that how do you deal with design rejection, right? We propose designs and we sometimes go ahead with it. Sometimes we are asked to make revisions and changes, right? But I would like to tell you that I deal with it at a zero level, because what we have built in our studio is trust. We communicate, we understand, and then we deliver. So there are many clients of mine who don't even look into our drawings because we have worked on the power of communication. So recently somebody asked me, how do you tackle design rejections? And I answered them, I don't, because we don't get rejected. Our designs are built on trust. We understand the requirements and then we deliver to make it matter. Now, would you like to communicate something with me?
How do you deal with different type of clients? When they come, how do you discuss with them? Various type of builders are there, ladies are there, different types of people are there. How do you deal with them?
Okay. First of all, being a female, there's a privilege. You know how to tackle different people, right? Because we do that in families, right? But yes, coming to it professionally, as I said earlier, that first you need to understand. So if you know that a builder is walking in, you have to understand his mindset. If a housewife is walking in, her mindset is going to be different. That is where human psychology comes in, right? Here I would like to make a mention that I'm an educated, qualified interior designer. But right now, we are working with architecture, PB constructions, right? And all this because our existing clients who've been worked with, design, trust us to give us these kind of different projects.
We all are designers. So when the design is all completed and finalized, but every clients become expert of his own. Okay? So when he is asking to change some designs, but the design is final by your vision, it is complete. But client asking for small changes which don't suit in design. So how to convince them at that stage?
Okay, so if I reframe your question, you're asking me that once the design is finalized, but the client is asking for further changes.
Yes, ma'am.
How
You
do?
know, that is not suits in design.
Okay.
So
Okay.
how to convince them?
How to convince them, right? So first, as I said, you have to listen what he is talking and is it making sense, right? अगर वो sense ही नहीं बन रहा है, तो you will have to explain him practically and technically, right? Outrightly, if you say no to a person, that person is going to get offended and think that this designer doesn't listen, right? We've been hearing this, right? That designer doesn't listen. He or she does of her own, right? So you have to listen. If you understand, if you tell him that, sir, if we work this way, it will trouble us, in X ways. And if his request is maybe like a 2% workable. So maybe you give him a better solution, right? If he's coming up with a different expectation from you, that is why he's asking you that if we can make a change, right? That means something that you've made is not giving him that comfort, right? We are designers, we can better ourselves. So if needed, if you feel that, okay, if somebody's challenging you, you can take it as a challenge also, right? So maybe you can make a better option,
Okay.
right? If not, you can definitely explain him technically that this would look good. Does that answer you?
Yes, ma'am.
So, ma'am, my question was to you that we are just budding architects, we are budding designers. We haven't started in the field of architecture as of yet. We are just interning. So, what advice you can give to us so that we can keep in mind, and later when we are doing the projects, so we can just apply them to it?
I love this question because this internship has
Yes,
changed my life.
Okay.
Okay. I was not at all into interior design, right? So after my education, like the last 6 months, so I've done a 5-year degree course in interior design under the leadership of Triple ID. It was a course derived by them. So we had to do a 6-month internship. I think you must be also
Yes,
doing
ma'am.
that.
6 months.
So I came to Delhi. My father was a pass out of SPA.
Hmm.
So one of his junior, I went to their office and I was there, right? And I was kind of a blacklisted student in my class earlier, right? But this internship actually brought that stability, that vision, right? That, okay, I want to take it ahead. And in fact, right now I'm doing a lot of hospitality projects, which was deep rooted when I was doing my internship, because that studio was into a lot of hospitality projects,
Okay.
right? So what I want to make a mention here is internship is the very most important part of your profession, right? When we are studying, it is very important to realize what are we wanting, how we want the process of our journey into the profession to shape up. And you should choose the studio likewise. Like what I'm talking about is 20 years back, but right now you have access to so much information, right? You
Yes,
can just look into work, which studio is doing what. So how you want to shape it up, you should go and work with them and work with somebody,
Okay.
right? We always want to pop out and start something of our own. The time will come. But first, I think initial 3-4 years are very crucial to grasp,
Okay.
right? Maybe work for a year in different offices and you get to learn so much, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So, a close friend, Karan Desai, right? He was once mentioning that he was working with Ashish Atelier. He was interning with him, and and he got the job of arranging the catalogs for most of his internship. And he was like getting irritated about it, right? But then later on, he realized that by doing that, he got to know the major brands, the major artists. And if, Ashish used to say that, get me that, he knew what was it, right? So these kind of instances happen. So everybody will have an experience. Definitely it will be different, but you should have that experience. That's what I firmly believe.
So, ma'am, my question was, so being an interior designer, the clients always focus on materials and everything. So, how do you explain them the upcoming materials? Like they get an idea from Pinterest, so they tell you to focus on that. So, how do you perceive them that you should cope up with that they should cope up with your idea?
Okay. So as a designer, I am myself looking out for newer products all the time, right? Because you want to bring in freshness into your project. You don't want to use the similar products every time, right? Like right now we have this fad of fluted, right? Everything is getting fluting, right? So how long are you going to work around it? So different materials, different combinations. I think that's what is the way ahead. Now coming back to Pinterest, right? A lot of clients come to me and everybody that we want something like this. But do you want to make something like that? Right? We are designers. We are here to design, to showcase our creativity. So the single bottom line I tell them, you like this? I will give you better. That's it. Thank you so much. I had an amazing time and I hope I was communicative to you. And I would like to thank Design in Focus for having me here. Remember the power of communication and make it matter.